14%. That's the rate increase Arizona Public Service has put in front of state regulators. And on July 7, 2026, after one of the longest utility hearings in Arizona history, the arguments finally stopped. Now one judge in Phoenix holds the next move. Here's the short version. APS, Arizona's largest electric utility, is asking for about $579 million more per year from its customers. For a typical home, that means roughly $20 extra every month, an increase of about 16% on residential bills. The 5 elected commissioners at the Arizona Corporation Commission must vote by December 31, 2026, and if the request survives, new prices land on bills in early 2027. There's also a second, quieter proposal buried in this case that could matter even more than the headline number. We'll get to it. So what actually happened? APS filed this rate case back in June of 2025. The formal hearing opened on May 18, 2026, and it was scheduled to wrap within about a month. It didn't. It ran 31 hearing days, stretching all the way to July 7th, long enough that the commission itself called it one of the longest rate case hearings in its recent history. Nearly 36 parties intervened. More than 50 witnesses testified. Over 300 exhibits went into the record, and the two sides traded roughly 3,400 formal data requests. At one point, APS asked the judge to limit how long its experts could be questioned. The administrative law judge said no, and extended the schedule instead. When a hearing has to grow by weeks because there are too many experts to cross-examine, that tells you how much money is sitting on the table. Now the why. A rate case is essentially a public trial about a utility's budget. APS argues that the $579 million covers costs it has already spent on poles, wires, power plants, and grid upgrades for one of the fastest-growing, hottest service territories in the country. The company's core position at the hearing was simple. The money is already out the door, and rates need to catch up. Customers who showed up to public comment sessions had an equally simple answer. They can't afford it. But the number that worries consumer advocates most isn't the 14%. It's the second ask, called a Formula Rate Adjustment Mechanism, or FRAM. Today, APS has to file a full rate case, like this one, every time it wants a general increase. That process is long, public, and adversarial. Under formula rates, APS could adjust prices every year for up to 5 years based on an annual cost study, without running a full case each time. Think of it as the difference between renegotiating your rent face-to-face every few years and signing a lease that raises itself automatically every year. Arizona's Attorney General Chris Mays and consumer groups like Arizona PIRG intervened in the case, warning that yearly increases would arrive with far less scrutiny. So who pays how much? Residential customers face the biggest percentage jump, about 16%, roughly $20 a month for a typical home. Small, medium, and large businesses would see increases in the range of 6 to 8%. Rooftop solar customers would also watch their fixed monthly grid access charge roughly double, from about $2 to $3 today to around $4 to $6. And here's the twist. The single biggest proposed increase targets data centers. APS wants that customer class to pay about 45% more, and how to charge these extra high-load customers became one of the most heavily argued issues of the entire hearing. The timing makes all of this sting. Arizona households already pay the highest summer electric bills in the nation, about $1,060 for June through September, according to a national analysis published this June. And if you're next door on Salt River Project, which isn't regulated by the Corporation Commission, your increase already happened. SRP prices rose about 3.5% in November 2025, approved by its own elected board. What's next? The administrative law judge who ran the hearing is now working through closing briefs and thousands of pages of evidence. Her recommended opinion and order is expected in late November 2026. Then the 5 commissioners vote, and they're on a legal clock. A final decision has to come by December 31st. Whatever rates they approve would take effect in early 2027. One more wrinkle. 2 of the 5 commission seats are on the ballot this November, which means a 14% rate request is landing in the middle of an election. Here's the most useful thing to know. Regulators almost never grant a utility's full request. The final number usually lands somewhere below the headline, shaped by the judge's recommendation, the intervener's evidence, and public pressure. So treat the 14% as a ceiling, not a certainty. If you're an APS customer, 2 moves are worth making before January. Check whether you're on the cheapest rate plan for the way you actually use power, because the plan you picked years ago may no longer fit. And keep an eye on the formula rate decision, because a yes on FRAM changes how every future increase happens, annually, and with less of the scrutiny you just watched play out over 31 days. So, to sum up, APS wants about $579 million more per year, roughly $20 a month from a typical home, plus permission to raise rates annually for 5 years without full rate cases. A judge recommends in late November. 5 commissioners decide by New Year's Eve, and new prices could arrive in early 2027. Arizona's biggest utility bill fight in years now comes down to weeks of deliberation. Next time on Kilowatt Report, the $800 summer, why the average American household just got the most expensive cooling season ever recorded. If your electric bill keeps rising, this channel breaks down a different utility every week. Subscribe and watch the next one right here.